Judgment is impending, church. And the Bible said it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living God. That it's time for the real church to stand up. Time that the church needs to rise up and be a church in revival. I believe we're living in that present time, and you're living in that present dispensation. If there's ever been a time that the church needs to wake up out of its sleepy pew and realize what power it has invested inside of it, and realize the commission that God has given us, I believe we're living in that time right now. God did not call us here to be a social program. He did not call us here just to be a political program. He called us to be a spiritual entity, an organism of Christ, that we might be the body of Christ. That when men see the church, they see God. When men see the church, they see the presence of Jesus Christ. I believe they ought, in their weakness, ought to see the strength of God's church. I believe in their thirstiness, they ought to say there's water at that church. They ought to say there's food at that church. They ought to say there's spiritual life at that church. From every dead Lazarus in our society, they ought to know there's a living God, and that living God still raises the dead and sets the captive free. But if it ever sees God, it must see it in the church. Called us here to have revival. He called us here to rise up in this hour and for the church to catch on fire and to be that which God called us to be. We're in a warfare like you have never seen on the face of this human earth. I want you to know you won't read about it in the Phoenix, and you won't read about it in the USA, and you won't hear about it on ABC or NBC or CBS. It's a spiritual battle that's going on right now, and what's being waged over is not lands, it's not kingdoms, it's not oil. What's being waged is a battle for the souls of human people, the people that you work with. We must reach people, but we also must disciple them to obey the teachings of Jesus. And there's a whole lot that they need to know. There's a whole lot we need to know. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not do a lot of things that we're doing today, but nobody wants to hear the thou shalt not. All they want to be told is how to be successful and have a better self-image. I tell you, that cross, if you come to it, it'll kill you every time. But thank God when you die at that cross, a new man is resurrected, and that new man is walking in the newness of Jesus Christ, in the power of resurrection. But you'll never know it in the flesh. The church must be effective. We must be doing God's business. I want you to know, brother, that God has called us for such a time as this. It's not time to sleep. It's not time to fall dead. It's not time to give up. It's not time to quit. It's time to get a raise. It's time that raise down inside of you, which is called resurrection power, rise up inside of you. And he said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. It's time for this gospel to work, but it's never going to work unless we are effective in him. Draw a line in the sand, and for that line to get so big until you cannot, I say you cannot live on one side and one on the other. You either have to get in the church or out of the church, because God is the same, and he's looking for somebody that knows him and the power of his resurrection, not just in religion. I believe the church world as a whole has got so comfortable in their pews, got so comfortable with their stained glass windows and their padded pews, and their carpets are thick until when you walk in, it goes up to your ears. I want you to know, brother, it's all not about being comfortable. We've got so wrapped up in mega churches, and we think if we're not a mega church, then we're really not going to get the job done. Can I tell you that hell is a real place? It really is. I don't care if preachers have quit preaching on it. It doesn't change it, not one bit. It's still there. It's still on fire. Men literally gnaw their tongues in pain. They scream out for eternity, and they're never coming back. There's never going to be a rescue mission sent. There's never going to be anybody reach them. And so the only thing standing between people going to hell and going to heaven is the church of the living God. And it's time we rise up and be that church. If this city sees us in the darkness, they're going to see light, and if they see light, they'll come, because God is calling us for this time. He is saying, come to me, accept me, believe in me. If you'll come to me, I'll give you life eternal and life abundantly and life evermore. And every day he calls out. I tell you, that's where the church needs to be in this end time. A world in revolution needs a church in revival. And I want to be that church today. God has called us for such a time as this. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? A world in revolution needs a church in revival. And I want to be that church today.